Okay, so welcome everybody to the January Queen's SWAB meeting. We have a packed agenda as usual today. The first item of business is roll call and attendance. So Rachel, did you need me to read out the names?
Sure, if you could.
Okay.
If you have it open.
I do.
Thanks.
All right, so Amy Mertman, I'm present. Andrea Scarborough,
Present.
Anita Chan,
Present.
Bilal Key,
Present.
Diane Song Yu, Gil Lopez,
Here.
Janet Ferreira,
Present.
Jasmine McPherson. She is on the, Jasmine is on the train.
Present.
Yeah,
Present.
okay. I know you're there.
Gotcha.
Jennifer Maldonado,
Present.
Jenny Lynn,
Present.
Cangela Moore, Karen Napolitano,
Here.
Catherine Servino,
I'm here.
Mac Lawrence,
Present. Yep.
Rachel Boglin is here.
Yeah.
Richard Nunez Lawrence,
Present.
Ruth Essa,
Present.
Susan Latham,
Here.
Toby Shepherd Block,
Present.
Vanessa Ventola.
Present.
Now to our organizational representatives, starting with the community boards. Community Board 1.
I'm here, Antonella.
Thank you. Community Board 2.
Present. Laura Shepherd.
Thank you. Community Board 3.
Megan Rockwell, present.
Thank you. Community Board 4. I did see Carol. Let's see. See, Carol, I think you're muted. We see you here.
Yeah, she is.
Okay. Community Board 5. Community Board 6. Community Board 7.
I'll take notes for Jim. He's delayed.
Okay, thank you. Community Board 8.
I'm here.
Community Board 9. Community Board 10. See, Anthony is here. Thank you.
Amy,
Yes.
Community
Hi,
Board
Carol.
4 is
Yes.
represented tonight.
Hello, thank you. All right, John Kelly, or I'm sorry, Community Board 11.
Yes, John.
I
Here.
see you here. Okay. Community Board 12. Is Reverend Thorpe's on tonight? Yeah, okay. Community Board 13.
Alan Barrett, present for Community Board 13.
Community Board 14. Okay, so we'll go to our organizational representatives. Cures,
Harry Arnold.
Guardians of Flushing Bay,
Hi, Rachel here, present.
Long Island City Partnership,
Charles, you here? Present.
Mr. T. Carding. Is Adam on? Don't see Adam just yet. NYC H2O.
I'm here. Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan. Queens Botanical Garden.
Here, Luisa Mojica today.
Hello, thank you.
Hey.
Queens Chamber of Commerce.
Tom Gretsch here. Thank you very much.
Hello, thank you. Queens County Farm Museum.
Present, this is Sarah Meyer.
Hello. Sutton Boulevard bid. Don't know if that's on tonight. Tully Environmental. And Waste Management of New York. Okay, that is all, and give Rachel a minute to record. Do we have a quorum today, Rachel?
Yes, we do.
Okay, thank you. And I will just say another reminder that we should be civil to each other and keep these meetings productive. I'm glad to see so many of you here tonight. If you are new to Queens SWAB, welcome. We do have a packed agenda. And let's see, we need to approve the November and December minutes. Those were shared with voting members in advance, and they will be circulated after our meeting and made available. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Susan Latham makes a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Susan. So we have a motion. Is there a second?
Tom Gretsch will second.
Got that, Rachel? Thank you. So the
Very eager bunch tonight. Wow.
so the motion has been made and seconded. All in approval from our voting members. You could take yourself off mute and say, yeah, aye.
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 And are there any opposed? Okay, thank you, everybody. We have approved our minutes from November and December. So next was our speaker tonight with us today, Kevin O'Sullivan from DSNY, to speak about the Smart Compost Program. We did receive a number of questions in advance, and I know many of you that are joining here tonight will have a lot of questions. For your questions that aren't answered with his presentation, we will get through as many as possible. We do have other items that we want to cover tonight, so if there are outstanding questions that aren't answered, we can gather those up and submit them, and then try to go over them at a future meeting or submit responses around to the group. So Kevin, welcome. Would you like to, you should have screen sharing abilities. Let me know if you have any issues with that.
Sure. I just got a message that says host disabled, screen sharing.
Oh, goodness. All right, let me see what we can do here. I will make you co-host. All right. See if that changes things for you.
Yes. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you for having me, everyone. My name is Kevin O'Sullivan. I work for Department of Sanitation. I've presented over the years to the Brooklyn SWAB, the Manhattan SWAB, so it's nice to finally meet and be here. I've been a Queens resident for the last 24 years, so definitely near and dear to my heart. So without further ado, tonight I'm going to talk about the smart composting pilots. There's two right now. One that DSNY is fully running in Astoria, and one that is a public-private partnership with the Alliance for Downtown New York. As was mentioned, if you have questions, we ask that you hold them to the end. I will get through this pretty quickly and hope to be as informative as possible. We'll answer every question that I can. Any questions I can't answer, I will get back to folks. All right. So again, this is my name and email, kosullivan@dsny.nyc.gov. I am the Bureau of Recycling and Sustainability. In my unit is agencies, institutions, and operations. So NYC Smart Composting, I think it's most important for folks to think of this as a pilot. So what do I mean by that is we've never done this before. So this is an opportunity to learn and to gain information both on how it works for residents, how it works for our uniformed, unionized staff in servicing these bins, how it works for our collection models, and obviously the type of material we're getting in relation to our existing programs, curbside composting, as well as the many community managed sites. So again, a pilot program to place composting bins that can be accessed 24/7 in the public space. This is a learning opportunity for DSNY to better understand how managed access, managed street infrastructure can interact with our models. So this was announced on Earth Day 2021 by the former mayor. And he announced a pilot plan to roll out a smart bin composting program. So I think we heard that at the same time as was announced. So it was a quick turnaround to get this up and running as a pilot. And we are currently, there are two, as I mentioned, we are heavily involved in the Astoria Smart Bin pilot. We are supporting the Alliance for Downtown New York in their pilot. So that's the public-private partnership that I mentioned. The vendor that we are using for the Astoria pilot is Big Belly. I'm sure many of you are familiar with their bins. This is the first time Big Belly has ever done a managed access bin. So, it took some time for them to get up and running, and they're learning as well. It's a pilot for them as well. So as I know, a lot of you folks are very informed individuals on the SWAB call. So I'm sure I don't have to spend too much time on this. What managed street infrastructure examples are: city bike, of course, community fridges, etc. So we're going to start off with the Astoria pilot. So this pilot is, as I mentioned, managed by DSNY. We're managing the vendor, Big Belly, and the subcontractors who clean and repair the bins. DSNY is collecting this material 6 days a week. We collect every day but Sunday. If we could collect on Sunday, we would, but there is not a shift on Sunday. So for the Astoria locations, when I logged on, I heard some chatter. Some folks were talking. It sounds like some folks are familiar with the bins, familiar with the program. There are 16 bins located around Astoria right now. We are working to get potentially 4 more installed. Those 4 are not ready, so to speak. They're not built. The map can be found of those locations on the URL there, smartcompost.nyc. Folks can log on there, go on there and see where the bins are, and where the map of the bins are, as well as sign up for the program. So here's more information on actually signing up. Right now, we are using RFID cards to access the bin. As I mentioned, you can request the cards at smartcompost.nyc. We are prioritizing Astoria residents for the cards. But cards will be mailed, by the U.S. Postal Service, take about 5 to 10 days. There was a bigger delay during the holidays, but now it's about 5 to 10 days. In addition to the RFID cards, there will be an app that should hopefully be coming in late February, early March, that Big Belly is creating. They've never done anything like this before, so it's a new endeavor for them. But I do want to stress that RFID cards will still be available even when the app launches. Not everyone has a smartphone. I wish I didn't have one, but I need one. So for folks that don't have smartphones or don't want smartphones, the RFID card will still be available. And then if you have any issues or concerns with the Astoria pilot, whether it's you're a user and you are having a problem, or you're just a resident and you see an issue, we'll get more into specific questions. I did see a question about dumping and things like that. Of course, those types of litter conditions always report to 311. But if it's a specific question regarding the smart bin, please use that email or call that phone number if you would rather call. So the pilot, the bins were just installed the first couple of bins were installed on December 10th. But then all 16 were installed sort of mid-December. And these stats are sort of as January 18th. So there are over 3,000 Astoria residents that have signed up to request a card. 2,400 cards have been mailed out thus far. Of that 2,400, 1,164 people are using the cards. There's been an average overall of about 150 people a day depositing compost. This past weekend, there were 492 unique user deposits. And the past week, so not this week, but the prior week, there were 789 unique user deposits. And bins have been averaging about 1 day to fullness. So, you know, it's been very popular, and we're sort of, you know, running these trucks are running full, and you know, there's a lot of material. This is just a picture I took the other day when I opened one of the bins. A benefit of the managed access is that there really has been no contamination. Folks are putting in the material that should be in there. And then some folks asked, why Astoria? You know, we had requirements and limitations with this pilot. The limitations were the turnaround time, and the requirements are we needed, you know, an area where folks are already composting and have actually requested the service. And as far as the opt-in program that DSNY has been running since the pandemic, the Astoria had the most opt-in requests of any neighborhood that didn't have the existing curbside composting eligibility. So we knew there were going to be, you know, a lot of folks interested in participating, and we know there's obviously a history, you know, of curbside, of community composting in Astoria. I know some folks are on who are heavily and deeply involved in that, and you know, this is seen as a complement to all of those services, and you know, obviously, most importantly, it's a densely residential neighborhood and clustered pockets, and that's primarily why Astoria was chosen. Moving ahead, and that's my my son there using. I use the bin. I live in Woodside, but I biked over to test the bin out last weekend, and that's him there putting our stuff in. For the other pilot, which is the public-private partnership with the Alliance for Downtown New York, the ADNY, the Alliance, oversees the administration. They are in charge of the app, the bin and vendor management, and operations. They are actually, their sanitation staff is servicing the bin and putting the material all in a central location that DSNY is grabbing. So our staff are not servicing the bins. They are just picking up the material at a central location. But I'll go into more details about how you can sign up if folks are down here. So right now, physically, I am down in Lower Manhattan. Sometimes we use the ADNY bins collectively in the office. We, you know, freeze our food scraps, and we have been using ADNY. So there are 10 bins. So there, you know, there are less bins. This is the map of where they are located. If you want more information on this pilot and you want to learn how to sign up, you can go to downtowny.com/compost. And the bins are different than the bins for the downtown pilot are different from the bins in the Astoria pilot. The bins are manufactured by a company called EMZ. And it is exclusively an app. So that QR code, that works. If anyone wants to point their phone at it, it'll work, and they can download the app. Once you do that, you sign up for an account. You have to allow the app to use Bluetooth. This app operates on Bluetooth. it's pretty easy to use. Once you approach the bin, it opens and unlocks. It sort of looks like a slot machine almost. That's it there, going back here on the bottom left of that screen. It's exactly what the bin looks like. When you go up to it with the app engaged, it just automatically opens. So some of the usage stats, as folks, I don't know if folks have been down here lately. Really the only people in any sort of mass office space right now are a lot of city workers mostly. So a lot of the finance and tech, a lot of those office buildings are not occupied. So, I'm sure this is not the ideal time for them to have launched this. Also, there's a transient nature of residential folks down here. It seems like a lot of folks, there are less folks living down here than there were prior to the pandemic. And that's just my opinion and observation, working down here. As of January 14th, 449 people have downloaded the app. And then there have been a total of 1,896 transactions to date. And then as far as what can go in the bins, for those of you that are familiar with the curbside composting program, it's basically everything that can go in the DSNY residential curbside composting program can go in these bins because those are the trucks that are servicing. So, unlike some of the food scrap drop-offs, you can put, bones and dairy and things like that in the bins. Obviously, we don't want any trash or diapers or animal waste or recyclables, of course. But there's, some more detailed information on our website as to what, material can go in the bins at that URL. So with that, I don't know if, folks want to ask questions or if, someone wants to moderate the questions, I'm happy to answer any questions I can.
Yes, thank you. We've had some in the chat, but I know we had a few that were sent in advance as well. So we'll try to get to as many as we can. About the placement of the organics bin, I know that there's sometimes in some neighborhoods curbside, or not curbside, I'm sorry, public recycling bins and just the street basket bins or the trash bins. Are these positioned near those? How does that work together with the other public offerings?
So they really are standalone, and they are positioned in mostly residential areas. So it's really intended for folks to make a conscious decision to drop off their food scraps rather than for like transient leftovers, so to speak. There had been years ago bins, corner baskets on 31st Avenue, but the budgeted service for those bins can result in some unsightly litter conditions. So the decision was made to remove those bins for a variety of reasons, including, budgetary reasons, I believe. And, as for folks that are familiar with the area, Steinway has tons of, bins, corner baskets, recycling bins, etc., because those are really commercial districts and areas. Whereas the more just generally, this information is on our website too. When folks request a corner basket, those are usually not approved for heavily residential areas.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm getting the other questions up. All right, hang on. Got frantic chats here, lots and lots of questions. Sorry, I'm trying to coordinate. Charles, do you want to ask your question while I get some of these other questions
Yes.
up on my computer?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
we can.
Yes. So Charles Yu from Long Island City Partnership. We primarily represent businesses in Long Island City, but we also manages the business improvement district in Long Island City. So some of my question will be about the operations of the program. I know this is a program for collecting residential compost, so the commercial ones will not be going into these bins. But the question is, first question is there any issues or challenges or complaint with sidewalk obstructions or maintenance around the bins? Because I think it is the adjacent property owner's responsibility. Very often the businesses that are responsible for cleaning the sidewalks. Second question, a related question is, can you maybe describe a little bit more about what is the process of determining where these bins goes? Particularly, I'm interested in hearing more about, is there any community feedback or what sorts of community feedback have you guys been collecting? Thank you.
Sure. So as far as the location of the bins is pretty much what I explained earlier. We selected the area because there was a lot of interest, and it was a residential, densely residential, pockets where we wanted to put the bins to get the most material. As far as
sorry, I was referring more to specifically like which street corner.
Sure.
That kind of. Yeah.
So as far as what street corners, a lot of that was determined. There was an initial walkthrough, and a lot of that was determined by operational factors from our collection staff. So you don't want to put it in an area that is difficult for the crew to service. You don't want to put it directly in front of a door to a building. You don't want to put it right next to a mailbox. So things of that nature. And the bins are not directly on the corner, which in the expert opinion of the collections folks, their experience, the closer you are to the exact corner, the more dumping and stuff gets put on it. And there really hasn't been an issue with these bins.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, today actually I've been out several times, and today was actually the first time I saw somebody put a glass Starbucks bottle on top of the bin. But for the most part, there hasn't been an issue with any material that with the bin contributing to any waste conditions for the most part.
Yeah, I would just add and suggest, if you guys are thinking about rolling it out in Long Island City, because we do have some very large buildings, so maybe coordinate with the building owners in terms of placement, because I would assume a lot of the residents would be using the compost bins.
Yeah, definitely.
Mac,
All
go
right.
ahead and ask your question.
All right, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. It was very informative. My name is Mac Lawrence. I'm from Southeast Queens, specifically Community Board 12. I noticed, a story was chosen because they didn't have a curbside composting program as well. Community Board 12 hasn't had one either. Now I noticed also in the Lower Manhattan, pilot program, you said it was a private and public partnership. So my grand question is this something that is able to kind of be, like a private partnership? Could you see that in other community boards, like in Southeast Queens?
I think the goal of the pilot is to see, first if this is a useful model, and so far, again, it's early days, but it seems to be definitely not something would replace curbside composting, or certainly not community composting, obviously. But it's just a tool in the overall toolbox, so to speak. But as far as if you are interested in this, I would advocate that folks ask for it with their elected officials, because if it's something that people want, it has to be budgeted for. And right now we're budgeted for this pilot that ends in on June 30th, the end of this fiscal year.
Mhm.
So it's essentially funded to, as a pilot. So, if this was a normal service model, we were just rolling out this as a new model, obviously it would be done very differently with community engagement and, a lot of thought and, outreach and a lot of that, but there just simply wasn't a budget for that.
Okay, so what happens after the 30th? Just curious, could you put it out there?
So I would say we're going to analyze, we would do some analysis based on usage. I think some of the stuff we're digging into right now with Big Belly in terms of the users, how often do people use it? Do they use it every day? Do they use it once a week? What are the popular times? Like, are people using it, during the day, at night? And then as far as weight, what I would like to see if this was greenlit or expanded would be physically the bins to have a weight mechanism in it. So we have volume right now. We know volume, but as any of you know who work in composting of any type, we could have the volume of a completely full bin of dead flowers that is not very heavy, or you could have a bin that is 20% volume, but it has like frozen lentil soup that is, really heavy. So, we're digging into that data. We want to look at eventually pounds per person. We want to look at usage trends and things like that. And then, of course, there are more, we want to send out a survey to the users, to ask, their experience. And then, if this is determined to be something that is a viable option and it is funded, then I think a rollout in another area would look very different. It would be more, outreach and more community involvement and engagement. But this is really testing, like, is this possible? And the physical device is brand new. We Big Billy had to, basically make it because it didn't exist before. But that's a long-winded way to say, we're studying. It's been a month. We want to look to see if this is a viable model. And if you and your community are interested in this, I would suggest, advocating your local officials, for your city council specifically, for funding.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
I'm going to pop over to Kate Peterson, who had sent over some questions in advance. Kate, do you want to ask some of the key questions that haven't been addressed yet?
Yeah, I think some of the questions have been sort of touched on, but particularly around the 31st Avenue pilot, just because that's what I'm most familiar with in Astoria. There was a question asked already about, is there going to be feedback sought from business owners and surrounding businesses? It sounds like that's not necessarily like a direct goal that you all have. I'm also wondering, in conjunction with that, is there going to be any sort of analysis about the litter situation? I have a lot of interest in that since we run a community cleanup program. And I've already seen, just from personal use of the composting bins, that there's been like a plastic bag sitting on top of it. I don't know if somebody couldn't open the bin or didn't understand what it was, but there's already little things like that. And so I would just want to make sure that we're tracking and assessing whether the composting bins are bringing in additional litter to the surrounding area and trying to find a solution for that. Can you let us know if there's anything in place for that?
Well, right now, we're having the material weighed ahead of collection, and there really hasn't been any significant report of those types of conditions. Of course, like I just said myself, today was the first time that I saw somebody had put a glass Snapple bottle on top. But as far as any meaningful, significant litter issues, it just really, hasn't been happening.
And by reported, what exactly do you mean by that? Just because I'm not sure. Like,
So
how would
if
you
it-
track the report?
Yeah, so if there is a litter condition, I'd encourage you to call 311. You know, if you use the 311 app, you can take a photograph as well and submit it. But I guess what I'm saying is, you know, folks are collecting this 6 days a week, and in that collection, we ask, you know, the folks that are collecting, you know, has there been any litter issues, things like that, and we just haven't heard that that's been an issue.
Yeah,
but of course, if you
Kevin,
see
I
it,
want to jump in and say something about that because I
Actually, can I just
run a
finish really quick? I just want to finish my
Sorry.
initial.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can,
Yeah.
wait a minute. Sorry, was that Rocky the Pug speaking?
yeah.
Yeah, please wait to be recognized. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Go ahead.
Just
just
in
wrap up
conjunction
your
with that,
question.
you mentioned the 6 day a week pickup, and you had said that there's not a shift on Sunday, and I just was trying to understand what that meant, because I know there is Sunday litter basket pickup service in Astoria. So is it not related to the litter basket service?
yeah, exactly.
Okay, so it's a separate run that they're doing, I guess you would say.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So of the other questions that I'd submitted, some of them were touched on. I think you've heard already, and you know, perhaps can come back in the future with more details and information about how this rollout might be adapted for other communities. I think all of us in Astoria recognize that our community has a lot of privilege and has already had some people working very actively around composting, and so therefore may have more education than other communities would have about, you know, how to compost, why to compost, what it means, and how it would be impactful for a different person. Have you noticed already any sort of things that you would change or maybe add for future rollouts just based on the response from the current program?
So far, I mean, as far as, I think the one thing to keep in mind again is that this is first and foremost a pilot. So the way it was rolled out would be different from, say, we're expanding smart bins. You know, it would just be completely different because you know, it would be all kinds of materials and you know, street teams and, you know, a lot of community engagement and, you know, multiple you know, materials in multiple languages and things like that. And, you know, advertisements in various ethnic newspapers. And that's, you know, what we do when we roll out a service. So while we, you know, we are providing a service right now and we are collecting this material, first and foremost, this is a learning endeavor for us to test out a model. So that's really the priority here right now.
Okay, great. And the last question was just actually some of the volunteers that I work with had asked about, they were told that they can drop off their scraps in plastic bags. And I just wanted to understand like how you are able to process that and if it's been working and if they should continue to do that.
Yes, so folks can use plastic bags. The material is debagged, similar to the curbside composting program. So yes, folks can use bags. I think you can see in you know, one of these pictures. You know, personally, I try not to. I have Tupperware, and you know, I try to limit my use of plastic bags. But if you have plastic bags or compostable bags, you can certainly use them.
Thanks, Kate. And I know we're gonna have way more questions than we have time for today, so we'll get through a couple more. Kat Servino, go ahead, and then we can get to your question, Rocky the Bug.
Sure. Thanks for the presentation, Kevin. It was really informative. I just had a question about why the Manhattan bins can accept meat and fish. Are they going to a larger size landfill where the temperature gets higher? Like where are they going? Compost pile, sorry, is what I meant to say. What is, because
So-
Astoria, you're not able to, right?
No,
And I-
Astoria, sorry to cut you off, but Astoria and the downtown program collects all this, you know, you can take all of the same material. So, and it's all the same material that our DSNY's curbside composting program can take. So both can take the same material. So of course, all of your plant and food waste, but also bones, meat, dairy as well.
And where is it being, where's the compost pile that it's going to?
So it's I believe the material is going to Newtown Creek, the so the AD, the anaerobic digestion.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, Rocky the Pug.
Thank you. Sorry for interrupting earlier. Wanted to touch on something that you said, Kevin, that you haven't noticed a lot of litter, but our volunteers have noticed a lot of litter around those bins, and they have taken upon themselves to clean that up. And we actually have a tracker in which every time there's litter, we take a photograph, and we also put a pin as to where on the map that was. This is something that we're going to start sharing with DSNY on a weekly basis. But I think it's pretty fair to say that this has generated a lot of trash. A lot of people abandon their food scraps on top of the bins or around the bins. So that's something that really needs to be handled better.
Great. Yeah, I look forward to getting the information.
Yeah. Now, my question was this. How come, so you guys ended up launching in Astoria, which is an incredibly diverse community. However, all the language, for around the events is in English. All the emails that have been sent out are in English. So you're essentially taking out a big chunk of our community, or in other words, you're only catering to a very specific pocket of our community. Is there like any work in progress to rectify that, or are you guys just going to be catering to people who only speak English and who have, I guess, a reliable connection at all times?
So ideally, as I kind of mentioned before, this wouldn't be, this program wouldn't be rolled out like this. As I think I mentioned before too, that, we would normally, do the 11 languages, would do a lot of, advertisement in the various ethnic newspapers, would do a lot of street teams. We have folks who speak many languages on our staff, and, it would look very different if it wasn't a pilot. So I agree with you. I have members of my family that speak multiple languages, and I do agree with you. And that's not ideal. And, I think this pilot is running until June 30th. And then if it was determined that it would be expanded upon, it would certainly include, multiple languages and neighborhood-specific cultural outreach. So, I definitely hear that comment, and that's normally how things are done. DSNY is actually pretty good about that, and it's something that we, always do when it's like a full programmatic rollout. But perhaps because of the pilot nature of this and the limited budget, it definitely could have potentially been a little better with that. So I definitely hear that, and I will definitely take that back, to the folks here. But obviously, if this were to expand, that would not be the case.
Thank you. Susan Cleary, your question.
Let me unmute. First, I want to thank DSNY for the program, because I think composting is all important for many, many reasons. Kate and Kevin basically answered my questions about my question, excuse me, about what goes in the bins. I'm a little confused, and I'm sure that the people that are using the bins are confused, because in the downtown area, your list said no meat and stuff like that, but now you're saying, Kevin, meat and bones, whatever, are okay. I think that's a confusing factor, and it should be cleared up for the people that are using the bins properly. Then you have the people who are just throwing their garbage because they don't want it in their homes, their apartments, their co-ops, their condos. I mean, how is DSNY dealing with that, for God's sakes?
Are you referring to the material that's going in the compost bin?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
in the regular bins, people from their apartments or their homes go and dump their today's garbage from dinner. We have that here in Kew Gardens Hills. So I'm sure it's going to happen in your composting bins.
Well, I think honestly, the best part of the managed access program is that, someone is making a conscious effort to, use this card to open the bin. And the material that's been in has been pretty pristine as far as organics go. So, I think that's a big part of managed access. If that bin was just on its own and anyone could just open it, I think we would see a heck of a lot of contamination.
I thank you. I forgot about the card. Sorry.
No worries. No worries.
Gil, go ahead.
Hi, thank you. I have something. I know that trash is an issue. It seems clear and evident. I mean, my one question is, why not just put a trash can next to the bins? I have a comment that the slots are too small. Lots of people save their food scraps in many ways. I know so many people that just use quart containers or other reusable plastic containers, which is preferred in their freezer. And it just doesn't fit in that small opening of the big belly. And that's a problem. You mentioned that the stuff is going to the AD at Newtown Creek wastewater treatment plant. And while that AD is happening and methane is being produced, it's being flared off. And that's because of huge over budgeting and time, like a massive delays in the construction project of the waste to energy. And DSNY continues to brag about these food scraps being used for energy. When will DSNY stop the false advertising on this issue? It's really unsavory. And the fact that you do accept meat, cheese, and dairy and fish and all these other products is confusing to people who also drop off at New York City Compost Project food scrap drop-offs, because those sites cannot accept these. And I don't think that the education around this, and not just for these bins, but also for curbside, is being properly addressed by DSNY. And I'm hoping that you can talk about what you're doing to address the education issue. And finally, my big question, I guess, is that I used to work for Reclaimed Organics, who started the collection, and I believe they're still doing the consolidation for the AD&Y in downtown Manhattan. And it's come to my attention that the Business Integrity Commission, which rules these things, has recently ruled that it is illegal for the spoke and hub model, or this consolidation model, to be used to collect, because these consolidation points are now considered illegal waste transfer points. I'm wondering what AD&Y and DSNY are going to be doing moving forward. And I'm hoping that DSNY will stand up with and for micro haulers moving forward. And I really do hope that I see this as a great model. And I'm glad that it's rolled out in Astoria, because it is a huge demand. I just hope that there's an understanding that I'm in Astoria. I've been here for a long time. I'm a community composter. This is my front line as an activist. And we've done a lot of work in this community with volunteer labor for the past 13, 14 years to get people to know about and participate in composting. And I think it's great that you're using this neighborhood for the pilot project to prove that people want to do this. But y'all are going to have a huge uphill battle when you go to any of these neighborhoods that DSNY has historically not invested in. And I'm talking about Black and brown, low income, environmental justice neighborhoods throughout this entire city. What's the Department of Sanitation doing to actually bring some justice to the waste issues? That's my big question for you.
Yeah, I mean, a a lot of those questions, just based on my role and what I'm working on, I can't really answer just because I truthfully do not have some of those answers. But, as far as some of the comments that you made about ADNY's model, I will definitely take back in the issue of the flaring off and our talk of the renewable energy. I'll take that all back. It's definitely just not an area that I'm working in or have any power in right now, but I will take those comments back. But as far as the comment you made about uphill battles in areas that have historically not received as much attention, I think that is something that we would have to be a significant amount of outreach, of meaningful, culturally sensitive and appropriate outreach. And I think folks here are definitely in the conversations and meetings that I've been in, it's top of mind. We are working on the environmental justice report as a city agency, and that there was a whole public comment period, and I don't know if some folks here are familiar with it, but each agency had specific tasks and questions that they had to respond to, and that report is being generated. So I know just as an agency, in a lot of the work we do and a lot of the meetings that we've had, environmental justice has been top of mind. So, a lot of those questions I truthfully just can't answer because it's not what, the stuff that I'm working on, but they are things, that are top of mind for us as an agency. But specifically regarding those two items you brought up, I can take those back.
Thank you.
Sure.
We are like over time, and I know Kevin has to hop off. Jasmine, I'll let you ask your question, and then we can wrap up this conversation for tonight.
Hi, my main question was just that I commend DSNY for starting this pilot program. I've seen both bends. I've seen the opposition for some people in Astoria and in Lower East Side. Unfortunately, those bins are a little bit bigger than the ones in Astoria, so it can take more than what others can. But also, I do like that maybe you guys aren't advertising. Well, no, I don't like it, but I do like, as a composter, what you're advertising is that people should chop up their food scraps. People should chop up whatever they're putting in there. You cannot stuff everything in there like you're the Grinch and it's a Christmas tree. So the main question I just have is just that, why wasn't the pilot program pushed in the places that you are already with, nonprofits that have supportive information that gives you how much food scraps are getting? Why did you guys go to volunteer areas where there's just people that just want to help out and generate getting rid of food scraps, when you have other nonprofits that may be interested in starting this program? Are you looking to expand there in those areas? That's basically just my main question, because you have the statistics and it could be successful there. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I lost a little bit of what you said. There was some static, but one of the primary factors, in addition to folks that expressed interest in composting, and the fact that there wasn't a curbside program, was also just DSNY has union staff that run certain shifts with certain equipment, and all of that needed to be sort of tested before there was any potential meaningful expansion of the program. So this, having staff use a card to open the bin, it's a lot of, it's new. it's a new process. The bin is new, it's different. Sure, we've had Big Belly before, but this managed access model is new. And so, a lot of the ultimate determination of the location and the avenue, in addition to the general area, came down to operational. We wanted to test it in an area that would sort of you have low rise, you have high rise, you have different sort of streetscape, and so there are multiple operational things I wanted to test as well.
So thank you, everybody. I know there's more questions than we have time for tonight. Please ask your questions in the chat. You can email them to us. Our recording secretary will compile those and send them to Kevin and those at DSNY. We may want to, definitely have this conversation continued. Thank you very much, Kevin. We appreciate your time and your presentation tonight.
Yeah, thank you everyone for all your thoughtful questions and for inviting me to present.
Thank you. All right, so next, I have to shift something up just for time purposes. There will be an all SWAB hearing for EPR. We have Rhonda Kaiser from, Rhonda, are you with Manhattan SWAB or Brooklyn SWAB? I apologize if you want to.
It's okay. I'm with the Brooklyn SWAB.
Brooklyn SWAB. Okay.
Yeah. I just became chair of the legislative committee, and we decided we needed to. We talked about hosting a public, hearing for EPR because there really hasn't been any public engagement about it, and it's a really important topic. Talk about environmental justice issues. So it's going to be next Wednesday, a week from today, February 2nd, from 2 p.m. until 6 p.m. And I'm going to put a link to register in the chat, if that's okay. And we're asking stakeholders, expert speakers who know a lot about EPR. It's probably one of the most complicated pieces of legislation you could read. And so what we hope this will be for people who aren't quite sure about what EPR is, what the details and particulars are, because the general concept is really attractive and exciting, but the devil is in the details, as Judith Enck likes to say. And so we just want to make sure that we have stakeholders who have taken it apart and looked at it from their point of view, and to say, to be able to speak about it publicly so that it can be an education opportunity if you're interested in coming and hearing about this. And really, this is super transformative legislation, and we want to make sure that it's transformative for the good, because yes, we do want to make polluters pay, but we don't want them necessarily to be in charge of it. And so some people will speak about their position and the reasons for not doing it. There's a lot of EPR legislation going on around the country right now, and Hawaii just put forth some EPR legislation that has no PRO, which means that the producers are not in charge of it. So it is possible. It's being done places. It hasn't been enacted yet, so we'll see how that happens. But in terms of what SWAB members can do, we are in the process of putting together, we've put out, we have some major press outlets who've agreed that they're going to come, New York Times, Politico, Waste Dive, the city. And so we have some really good coverage. We have some great speakers. We want to make sure we get all of the major stakeholders to come. I don't want to speak for if they haven't, spoken up. Of course, we're asking DSNY. Of course, we're asking Sims. Of course, we're asking Pratt. But what we need next is for legislators. People have signed up to attend, but not all legislators have. And we want legislators to, especially New York City-based legislators, to attend this hearing, because we'll be focused on how this is going to affect New York City recycling and infrastructure. So we're going to need people to do call bank. We're coming up with a really simple bullet point call script, and we'll send around call bank. If you want to respond and do a call bank, then you can call legislators if you represent them, if the legislators around Pratt, the legislators around Sims, the legislators around Sure We Can in Brooklyn, and various Hunts Point and the Bronx. So we want to make sure that these legislators have it on their radar, that it's an important issue, that people are watching, that people are paying attention to it, because we're wondering if the legislators have read it, even the co-sponsors, because it's really dense and complicated. Sorry, that was a lot of words thrown at you. And if you have any questions, please send them my way. I know that was a lot of new information.
Thank you. Yeah, I just kind of moved it up and threw it out there. So there's, I guess, a couple of requests are asked. So as an all SWAB event, the 4 active SWABs, the Bronx, Manhattan, Brooklyn, and Queens are asked to sponsor this hearing. Can you explain what that role is in this, as Queens SWAB hasn't come together as we're here tonight? We're gonna, I think, vote on that, but can you explain a little bit about what each SWAB is
asked to do,
requested to do, and what that sponsorship of the hearing actually means?
Well, what it really means is we wanted to be able to demonstrate to the legislators and that the constituencies that are being represented by that the constituencies that are represented by the SWABs are watching, basically, so that we all are interested and have a high level of that we want to learn about this process. We want it to be public. We want it to be transparent, and basically just having your name on the invitation and on the announcement is what we're interested in. We want, and if you want to help, if you want to do a phone bank, if you want to come, we'd love that, because that's super important to, I mean, when you talk about litter cleanups, it's not just about people throwing litter in the wrong place. It's about that there's so much plastic out there that's made to be trash, used for average of 7 minutes, and just thrown away as trash. So we have to do something to curb that from the source.
Okay. Are there, I know we're only giving Rhonda a short amount of time, but this is important issue. I just want to make sure if is there any questions briefly for Rhonda? Andrea?
Yes, thank you, Rhonda, for coming and helping us to better understand the EPR just a bit in terms of what you guys are trying to do. Now, is this around the state legislation, the
Yes.
1185? Now,
Yes.
I believe that was introduced a few years back.
Last year.
Oh, okay, it was last year. So now it's moving into the new session this year. Now, do we know where things are at, how much support the bill has? Do we know
It has
if there's a lot of pushback? Where does the bill stand?
That's a great question. So there's a lot of co-sponsors on the bill 1185C. It went through a few changes last legislative session, but it didn't pass. And it was, in addition to a Senate and Assembly version of this bill, there is a, in the governor's budget that just came out, there is Title 33, which is her version of EPR. And, we've gone through with a fine tooth comb, because it was the most recent version, sort of what's in it. It's, as I said, it's very complicated. There are a lot of issues. There's a lot about, just to speak very generally, and maybe Kara knows more about it. Maybe she's been able to wrap her head around it more, but just very generally, they're seeking to lower the toxicity level in certain materials, and lower the it's got a lot of really good measures that have to do with like lowering the toxicity levels, but also making what's out there more recyclable, so that if something seems like it's recyclable, but it's actually has no value in the recycling markets, then it will be discouraged from being produced in the first place. But all of this is threatened to be overshadowed because of the producer responsibility organizations, which are made up of producers who would be basically in control of what they do with their money. And in a lot of places, like we have DSNY and SIMS, who are very robust already collection and sorting facilities, but there are places in other municipalities throughout the state that don't necessarily have the same kind of robust infrastructure, and these PROs could essentially take it over, and then we would have no idea. There would be no more transparency. They would be the ones paying for it and managing it and in charge of it all. So it basically becomes a monopoly, and it's anti-capitalist, which is, you know, not something in a bad way.
Actually, right now, SWAB does not have a position, just trying to learn more.
Exactly.
About the legislation, and
Yes.
maybe at some point in time may make a decision as to whether or not this is something you can support or not.
Yes, and actually the SWAB, the Manhattan and the Brooklyn SWABs last year wrote a position on sort of our concerns about it, about the PROs and about various, and also environmental justice issues about, you know, worker rights and all of that stuff we want to make sure are in there. But again, it's a listening, and we really want to hear from the larger stakeholders.
Yes.
And yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So Andrea, do we need a motion to approve QSWAB sponsorship by the?
If we're going to have a vote on it, yeah, we need a motion.
Okay, can I have a motion to have QSWAB as participating SWAB for the EPR hearing? So again, we're
I
not-
move.
Okay,
I move to have QSWAB participate in the EPR.
Second.
Okay, so all of those in favor of QSWAB's participation in the all SWAB hearing next week, please say aye.
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 Great.
And are there any oppositions? Sorry, Mary has a question. Mary, you're on mute. Mary, can I first ask if there's any oppositions?
Yeah. Abstention.
And are there any abstentions? Okay, so we will move forward with participating Rhonda next week. And I think the ask also is if anybody's interested individually in supporting this event, did you put your email in the chat, Rhonda?
Oh yeah, please. That's great.
Reach out directly as well. Mary, yes, do you have a question?
Okay, before ECARES could participate intelligently, we would need a copy of the current legislation or link to it. We would also need the governor's position on it so that we are playing with a full deck.
Yeah,
So-
well, yeah, go ahead.
Oh,
Rhonda.
you can say, please, you.
Well, yeah, well, this is just in support of holding a public hearing for more information to be asked and circulated. Rhonda, do you want to clarify?
In addition, we have an invite letter that I will share, that I did share with Amy, but we can share it with the whole, with your whole Queen SWAB, that has links to the governor's portion of her, you know, her proposed EPR legislation, 1185C, and I think that's what you're asking for, and we have that, which will help you sort of wade through the information yourself, so you can make your own judgments about it.
Right. So that both the bill and what the governor's proposing, her counter. Great.
Right.
Thank you. And when would we be getting that then? Because if the hearing is next week, we would want to prepare then.
Yes, of course. So I will circulate via the Google group. So if let me know if you don't receive that. I will wait until the meeting's over to send that out.
Okay. And so anybody that has any questions, some people have emailed me in the chat, but can you, just because there's so many people, can you guys just take my email down, rhonda@cafeteriaculture.org? And I see that Kate wrote to me, thank you. And then Susan Cleary wrote her email in here. So can you guys just write to me and shoot me an email with your questions? And then I'd love to get your thank you for, looks like you're volunteering to maybe do some calls. Okay.
Thank you very much, Rhonda.
Thank you so much. Okay. Bye.
Bye. All right, so we jumped
I
around a
give
bit.
good phone.
We jumped around a bit on our agenda. So next we'll bump back over to our special election for the Education Committee Chair. So unfortunately, Kangela Moore had to step down as Education Committee Chair. But she is still very much a part of the SWAB. So we're grateful to still have her as a member. So I would like to open the floor for nominations for Education Committee Chair.
Can I nominate myself?
Yes, so we have a nomination. Kara Napolitano has been nominated for Education Committee Chair. Are there any other?
second it.
Okay.
She's a smart lady.
Are there any other nominations?
I second Kara as well.
Okay, so nomination has been seconded. So Andrea, guide me if I'm not doing this correctly again.
All in favor?
All in favor of, do we need to have a separate elect? Now we're, okay, so
No,
we have a
just go ahead.
nomination. Okay.
Do the vote.
All in favor of electing Karen Napolitano for our Education Committee Chair, please say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Okay. So yay, welcome, Kara.
Abstentions.
Do we need a, okay,
Abstain.
does anybody abstain? Okay. So yay, welcome, Kara, as our new Education Committee Chair. Kara, would you like to say anything?
Sure, yeah, I just look forward to getting together with the group and kind of prioritizing what we want to look at, and then kind of doing some outreach and figuring out what's already happening, what kind of education is already happening, and what groups like, Grow NYC and DSMI are already doing as far as education in Queens, and then, helping them out or developing some of our own initiatives and getting going.
Great, thank you. All right, we'll move over to our committee reports. And if we could just keep them super brief to the briefest update. I know there's some folks with a lot going on. So let's see, and we've got Richard with the Legislative Committee.
Yes, thank you. We haven't met yet. We just really confirmed our date for the most part. Well, our day to meet. So we'll follow up on that in the next few days. The biggest thing that I can report is, of course, when it comes to the city council, we have a new city council. We have some really great opportunities because in Queens, we have the environmental protection chair is Jim Gennaro, and our health chair in the city council is Lynn Schulman. Both two very respected, experienced people when it comes to city government. So there's great opportunities when it comes to SWAB to liaise with them and to work with them to bring some opportunities that we can kind of I guess request or put forward. Another thing is the solid waste solid waste chair is Sandy Nurse. Sandy Nurse, of course, her district is close to Queens, and in Bushwick, it's if you're in Kew Gardens like me, you're about 10 minutes away from the Jackie, right? So that's a really great opportunity, because she's a really good advocate. So with that said, I think a lot of the opportunities that we can put together, we can connect well with these people, and through especially the EPR. I contacted Rhonda, so I'll liaise with her to see exactly kind of best opportunities, and I'll be in that meeting next week as well, so we can kind of put all our ducks in a row through the committee.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Ryan, Solid Waste Planning Committee.
Yes. So a couple things. First is we are still reviewing the Put Waste to Work campaign. We've contacted the campaign with some follow-up questions, as well as reaching out to the other SWABs to see how they're handling the campaign, as they received similar presentations as we did. We're also turning to our State of Waste in Queens report. And so two things with that is, one, we're going through the end of the report, has a bunch of goals and at different timeframes. And so we're categorizing those based on the different committees, not to take control over all the committees, but to just show the different committees what the report says about their areas. So once we have that organized, I'll be reaching out to committee chairs about kind of what the goals in the report are most relevant to the work that you're doing for your reference. And then also, I'll be reaching out to the community board representatives on our QSWAB here about potentially making presentations at their community board. The State of Waste report breaks down a lot of things by community district, and so we really want to tailor some of the messaging. So we'll be reaching out for that as well, and that's what we've been up to.
Thank you. Janet, Communications Committee.
Hi, everyone. So our top key actions for Communications Committee, since we had our first meeting in January, we are developing a monthly social media calendar for Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, just basically highlighting any special events like National Compost Day, Low Waste Tips. And what we also want to do is build a quarterly out. So I know we had our first meeting in January, but we want to do more of a soft launch in February, and then really kind of hit the groundwork by March. Since I received the passwords about a week ago, I just do need help if anybody knows where I can have access to the Facebook, because it says I need to administration. So if anybody knows how to access Facebook, I really greatly appreciate it. And yeah, so at least by March, I definitely want to start posting more original graphics using Canva, try to already, browsing templates that could be useful, just more activity from fellow committees. And that's another thing too, just throughout the, other chairperson who, whether environmental justice, if there's something you need, amplified about upcoming, volunteer cleanup, we're happy to, post that as well. Just anything, and happy to even connect just maybe once a month, through an email, just to see if there's anything, you want us to amplify. And also we're just developing a social media guideline. So what is okay and not okay to post on social media. And then I, connected with Mac. We're just waiting on the finalization of the artwork. So definitely want to post that throughout and be consistent from the brand of QSWAP as well. And trying to think if there's anything else. Yeah, that's basically it. I know Susan, it's just as a moment where it's just her and I on the committee. So we're really open. If anyone wants to join us, we're, every the second of Thursday at 6:30. If anyone wants to join us, looking for, additional people. And yeah, so I think that's about it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I just want to say that Janet's working her, you know what, off. And we'll get it together. I know we will.
Yeah.
I think Mary has a question, Madam Chair.
Sure. Can I let the other committee chairs give their reports and then we can ask questions
The
at the end?
question for Janet.
Oh, okay, sure. Thanks.
Yeah, I just wondered, will the social media, will one of the rules be that the announcements have to come through the committees, or will members be allowed to submit things? Like, if they have an event or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I would love to touch, really just touch base with anyone. If anyone wants to, make an announcement, we could definitely talk it through. That could whether it's a stories on Instagram, I could post. And what's great about Instagram, you could post also on Facebook. For any of those tags, just feel free to definitely reach out of the event, especially if you know it a week in advance or something, that we could kind of plan and add it to the calendar. So, the door is open.
Excellent. And Bilal, Environmental Justice Committee.
Yes, good evening, everyone. So our team met on the 12th of this month, and we agreed to a consistent meeting date for our public meeting, which will be every second Tuesday of each month at 7 p.m. So that's on the calendar now. So we're working on our first public meeting of the new year and working on our special guest presenter for that as we speak. Some other things that we touched upon are some of our goals for 2022. We want to research and align ourselves with other EJ committees, other environmental justice organizations in Queens and perhaps throughout the tri-state area to see what they're doing and learn and exchange as well and support each other. We want to help to promote the February symposium coming up, being put together by the Eastern Queens Alliance as well, and encourage everyone to attend and get the word out to the communities to attend that symposium. Also, we want to work on establishing a set vision and goals for our committee itself. And also, we want to take a look into the Master Composter Program that's sponsored by Queens Botanical Gardens in reference to the committee actually being a sponsor to getting more master compost from different neighborhoods in Queens to apply and to get involved with that. It's just we wanted to make sure that everyone is getting that information and everyone has an equal chance for applying for that program. So those are some of our items that we talked about and some of those things that we're going to be working on throughout the rest of the year.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much. My video is not working. Okay. I think Jasmine had to hop off. So we don't have a compost committee update right now. All right. Just as a reminder, if you're not already on a committee, please, we're going to send out again the list of the dates and times for the committee meetings, along with the chairs and committee chairs information, so that we'll be able to, you can reach out if you're interested, or you can also just reach out to myself or put something in the chat. If you're interested in joining a committee, we'll make sure you are able to do that. All right, so next on our list is old business. Let's see, on it was the Abuela neighborhood maintenance cleanup. I don't know if we have any further updates on a potential date for that.
That's Bilal.
Bilal, and if not, that's okay. I just wanted to.
I can find out. I can follow up. I can follow up, Amy, on that. I can follow up with Ms. Miskus and see get a date for that and time.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you.
I'll follow up. I'll let everyone know.
Yeah, and if she has events or cleanup events, you know, we can share them on Google Groups and we can send it to Janet for social media sharing too. So anything
Great.
like that, you know, we can definitely do that.
Okay.
All right. The next item was the Put Waste to Work campaign, Solid Waste Planning Committee. So Ryan did give an update on that in his committee report. The SWAB Google group. So all members have been added to that. If you were not seeing that, those emails come through, let us know. If you have joined as a guest here tonight, welcome. If you want to be on the SWAB Google group, you can email, you can put your email address in the chat. You can message Rachel Boglin, who's our corresponding secretary, recording secretary directly, and she can add you to that list. You can email us. It's just a way that we're able to share information with a lot of people at once. And as a member of the Google group, you can also post information to it. You can select to get all emails, or you can select to get a digest, so your inbox isn't getting inundated. We don't have a whole lot, but I know like the Manhattan swabs, there's stuff coming in all the time. It can be a bit much, I know, especially with inboxes that are already packed. So do let us know. An update on the multi-use building waste issue that was brought up by Reverend Thorbs at the last meeting. I did reach out to the Brooklyn and Manhattan swabs to see if they'd had experience in dealing with similar issues. And they have. I'm just waiting to get into contact with a specific committee that's has experience with that and working on that. And then we'll coordinate with that and bring some more information to the group. Let's see, for new business, we had already talked about the EPR hearing. So Andrea and Mac, would you like to speak about the Eastern Queens Alliance upcoming event?
Yeah, Mac, you want to take it?
I could start it off, and then if you want to fill in. Okay. So me and Andrea actually have been working with Eastern Queens Alliance as individuals, helping to plan a waste management series. It's going to be a 3-part series over 3 months. And the first event will be for February, then it's going to be for March, and then it will, have a culminating series workshop in April for Earth Month. And the topic, it almost is a spinoff of Eastern Queens Alliance's a more sustainable Southeast Queens workshop series they did back in 2020. It was very successful. It was very engaging. Pretty much, can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Mac.
Okay, so yes, it was very engaging. The community really came out. We kind of broke off into workshops, and we just talked about solutions of how to make Southeast Queens specifically, more sustainable. So this one is we want to open up the conversation, to greater parts of Queens. Some of the focus still will be on Southeast Queens, but we also want to invite SWAB to co-sponsor the event as well, all 3. And really the kickoff event will be in February, February 26th. We'll share the details and the rundown, in an email, probably next week, because we do have another meeting tomorrow. We'll plan out, we'll go back to EQA, and we'll probably kind of finalize the agenda for all 3 series. But the first one will start off with, I'm sorry, let me just pull up my notes. Yeah, so the first one is going to be, what is waste management and why does it matter? So we really want to make the connections to the community of, how we interact with our waste, what happens to our waste, how it impacts our lives, in a positive manner, And if we don't have good practices, how it impacts us in a negative manner. And really, we want to focus kind of just on a lot of parts of Southeast Queens, because we are in an environmental justice neighborhood. And so there is a disconnect. Really, it's not even from the constituents or citizens or residents, but it really has been from the city, you know, not investing in our communities, you know, not providing us the resources, and even at a minimum, not providing us education or information. And then also, you know, we have to deal with, you know, the infrastructure, the waste infrastructure in our communities, but we don't really have the equity that comes from these infrastructures being there. So the first meeting, Eric Goldstein from, you know, NRDC, the National Resource Defense Council, will be the key speaker. We actually invited guests from Big Reuse to speak, and we are still finalizing our DSNY contact, you know, and pretty much it will just be talking about, you know, what is waste management, and we'll kind of break down how residents can, you know, use best practices when deciding, you know, when to dispose of a particular item, whether it be organic waste, household furniture, electronics, and, you know, clothes as well. Second one, it will be a little bit more into, you know, a deeper dive into environmental justice issues. You know, we will speak about, you know, commercial waste within our borough. And we'll speak about, you know, how that impacts, what the environmental injustice impact that has on the communities, and what we can do better about that. And in April, you know, we're kind of still honing that out. So that's why, you know, SWAB sponsorship, a co-sponsor, really would just be a naming sponsor, but also members from SWAB, you know, will, if you want to participate, if you want to kind of help us out, if you want to, you know, kind of present on something or suggest some content or topics, or even help us, you know, solidify some speakers or presenters, we would definitely be open to that. We would love it, because it would be great for SWAB to also, you know, partner with a really an environmental justice organization, even though they may not coin themselves that way, but they have been fighting for, you know, equality, equity in our environment for quite a long time. They're legends in the community. If you don't know Eastern Queens Alliance, I will put their website in the chat after I'm finished speaking, and you can just do some research about them. So we really just want to bring it to the floor, want to kind of put it out there for SWAB, see how y'all feel about it, and I'll let Andrea chime in.
Yeah, so as Max said, we were invited to participate, Mac, myself, and Kangela, and we felt us three were all part of SWAB. So we felt that it was an opportunity to collaborate with EQA, but under the banner of SWAB. We felt that it was a fit based on the topics, based on what they were trying to do, which is waste management awareness. It's an education issue, definitely for Southeast Queens. But it's also an education issue, I would think, in other parts of Queens. Now, whereas Eastern Queens Alliance, their focus was the Southeast Queens audience, we as SWAB stepping in brings the audience to all of the borough, which I think, you know, is a good thing. So Mac mentioned the topic, the first topic was, what is waste management and why does it matter? And that's really more on the residential part of it, really targeting at home, people at home, and what they're doing with their waste, and why is this important? What's the significance of it? And then tying it in to climate change, why you need to be doing this. And then he also talked about, we moved from there into the commercial waste piece of it. But then after that, we were looking in March, because Mac brought it to our attention, that March is World Water Day. So we were thinking to do something in honor of World Water Day, and it would focus on the plastics and plastics in the ocean and the significance of that, the health hazards, and again, tying it to climate change. And the last session, which would be in April, that is actually, we're thinking April is Earth Day. So doing something around, maybe have an expo, do something outside, bring a lot of the borough of Queens together in doing this. So the takeaway from these forums are to inform, to educate, and help our youth and adult audiences to understand the importance of managing their waste they produce, along with giving them some practical tips for doing so as well, and raising their consciousness around moving to a zero, hopefully us moving to a zero waste society. So our hope is that the membership view this as a worthwhile effort for QSWAP to collaborate with Eastern Queens Alliance. And we're hoping we could possibly get a vote today or a motion after discussion. And I know it's after 8 o'clock, but we would like to, at our next meeting with Eastern Queens Alliance, say that us folks, we're representing QSWAB, and QSWAB is prepared to collaborate. We'll understand if you guys aren't prepared to at this point, but would like it if it's at all possible.
So the request is for QSWAB to sponsor the events.
Right, to co-sponsor, collaborate. Yes.
Okay.
I believe we
Are there
still have
questions?
quorum.
What, say that again, Rachel?
I believe we still have quorum if we wanted to vote.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, so I'll open up to questions. Mary.
Yeah, I've attended a symposia that Eastern Queens Alliance has held, and the programs were absolutely amazing. High quality. I go to programs, Tulane and other places that they hold, and it was really top notch. And I think it would be great to partner. The great thing about this is it's coming out of the community. And, that's what that's the most effective way of dealing with any of these issues.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
We have a yes vote already. Kara.
Sorry, Charles, you're coming off mute? No? Okay. All right, so I'll close the floor for.
Oh, sorry, I have a really
You do have a
bad
question, okay.
connection. No, I don't have a question, but I had a really bad connection today, so I think I rejoined, so that's why it took me off mute. Sorry.
No, that's fine. That's fine. It's fine. Okay, so Rachel said we still have quorum. I mean, can we get a motion for QSWAB to support and sponsor this event?
I make the motion for QSWAB to support and sponsor.
And
Kara.
Latham seconds. Thank you. All right, so we have motion has been seconded. All those in favor of QSWAB supporting this event as described, please take yourself off mute and say aye.
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 Are there any nays, or all those opposed, please say nay. And are there any abstentions? Okay, so we have, you can take that back to your next meeting, Andrea and Mac.
Thank you,
QSWAB is in support. So
Sounds
thank you
great.
very
Thank you,
much.
everybody.
I know we're a little over time. That was our last agenda item for new business. Is there any other new business that anybody would like to bring forward? Okay. So can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved,
Susan.
Okay. Second.
All right, thank you. So all those in favor of adjourning the meeting tonight?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Thank you very much,
Bye.
everybody. We'll see you again next month, and we'll send out some of this key information on the Google groups. And if you don't get it, please let us know, and we will get what you need. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Got it.
Bye.